Okay, section 1.3 is on relating the SI or metric system and the imperial unit system of measurement. And these are the two main systems that are used in the world today. The imperial system of measurement was developed in England and is used in the United States, Liberia, and Myanmar. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that last one correctly. And the imperial system of measurement, the commonly used distance and length measurements are the inch, the foot, the yard, and the mile. And so this table is one that will probably be given to you on the exam. It will be given to you on the exam, with the one exception that the mile there, they usually don't give you the 5,280 feet. They only usually give you the 1,760 yards. So you're given that 1 foot is 12 inches, 1 yard is 3 feet, and 1 mile is 1,760 yards, which you could quickly convert to feet by just multiplying the yards by 3 feet, because every yard is 3 feet, and that will give you the 5,280 if you need it. All right. The SI system of measurement, SI standing for Système International d'Unit. I'm not sure if it's the French. I'm not very good at that, so that might be pronounced incorrectly. But the SI system of measurement is basically your metric system that you're familiar with, and it was developed in 1960 using a system of base 10. And most nations in the world have adopted this metric system of measurement, but we still see the imperial, so we're going to kind of learn a little bit about both. Now, the metric system you should be familiar with, so this next part here is just a little bit of review. And with the metric system, we have different prefixes that are used with the different bases. We're going to be dealing with the base unit of meter, but in the metric system you also have a base unit of gram and liter, but we're going to be dealing with length and distance measures, so we'll be using the base unit of meter. So it's important to remember the order of the prefixes to use the powers of 10 quickly to help you convert from one unit to another. And the prefixes that are used are kilo, hecto, deca, and your base unit being your meter or your gram or your liter. But we're going to be dealing with the distance measures, so we're going to be using meter. And then we have the deci and the centi and the milli. So this is a little phrase you can use to help you remember the particular one for meter, and this would be K for kilo, right? H for hecto, D for deca, M for meter, D for deci, C for centi, and M for milli. So King Henry doesn't mind drinking chocolate milk, and the first letters of each of those words will tell you the prefixes that you need. The one that I use is King Henry declared that King Henry declared big dogs can't meow. And the reason I use that one, King Henry declared big dogs can't meow. That helps me to remember because it has B for, the B is for base. So King Henry, K for kilo, H for hecto, D for deca, B for the base, D for deci, C for centi, and M for milli. All right, so if you remember that, and that's the order that they go in from largest to smallest, and then when you're moving, if you're moving to the right, you're multiplying by power of 10, but if you're moving to the left on that scale there, you're dividing by power of 10. And the number of jumps you move to get from one place to the other, that tells you what power of 10 you need. So let's just try a couple of examples. So the first example there asks you to convert 13.64 kilometers to centimeters. So you're at the kilometer spot and you would be jumping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jumps to the right. So when you're moving to the right, you would multiply by power of 10 and the number of jumps, 10 to the number of jumps. So in this case, it would be 10 to the power of 5. And multiplying by power of 10, 10 to the power of 5, that means there's 5 zeros, 1 and 5 zeros. That tells you the number, the jumps, number of jumps, so the number of zeros. Tells you how many decimal places to the right you want to move your decimal. So if you've got 13.64, and you multiply it by 10 to the power 5, that's like taking your 13.64 and moving it the decimal place 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to be right here, and all those jumps that don't have numbers you'd have to put in zeros for. So you'd end up with 1,364,000 centimeters. Okay. Oops, and there's my answer down there, just to write it in again. One more zero. Okay, so if we were converting 39.1 millimeters to meters, we're starting here at this and we're moving back 1, 2, 3 jumps, so we'll be dividing by 10 to the power 3. So that would be 39.1 divided by 10 to the power 3, which is 39.1 divided by 1,000, which is the same as taking your 39.1 and moving your decimal place 3 places, 3 jumps, 3 zeros, whatever way you want to look at it, to the left. 1, 2, 3. So you would have 0.0391. So that would be 0.0391 meters. All right, so I'm going to try a few examples down here, converting from one unit of measure to the other within the metric system of measurement. So the first one here, we use, just show our chart here. We have the chart written out: kilometers, hectometers, decameters, meters, decimeters, centimeters, and millimeters. So if you're going from kilometers, the first one there, kilometers, down to meters, that would mean you'd be moving to the right 1, 2, 3 jumps. So this would be 5.62 times 10 to the power 3, which equals 5.62 times 1,000, which is basically taking your decimal place and moving it 3 places to the right. 1, 2, 3. So you add in an extra 0 there, and that will give you 5,620 meters. The next one, you're going from centimeters to kilometers, so that would be here, and you're moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places to the left. So that would be 359.1 divided by 10 to the power 5, which is 359.1 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that would be, just going to move that over a bit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you put 0.00. So 0.003591 kilometers. Now, if you're putting that in on your calculator, you will probably get something that has, it will probably come back as 3.59 times, and the calculator, just write this down here. If you took that and went 359.1 divided by the 100,000 there, your calculator will probably come back with something that looks like this, 3.591, and it might have a little space there and 10 -3 there. And what that means is that this is scientific notation. So then you'd have to go, if you want to put it in just a regular number, not scientific notation, you have to move 10 to the -3 means move the decimal place 3 places to the left. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, and you would get the same answer I have up there. Okay, and you might not see, like the calculator might have not have 10 to the -3. I've seen some calculators which have 3.591, and they might have E -3 after it. And I did see another one that had like 3.59, and just a little raised -0.3, something like that. So depending on how your calculator works, if you see something with a space there and this little negative exponent, that means it's in scientific notation. And some calculators actually have the exact scientific notation, they have it written like that. Okay, so just beware, the answer is not 3.59. If that's at the end of it, it's actually 3.59 times 10 to the negative 3, which means you've got to move the decimal place 3 places to the right from where it is on your calculator. All right, so the next one is from millimeters, which is right here, and I'm just going to erase the top if I still can. Nope, can't do it anymore. Okay, so millimeters, if I go from millimeters to meters, that's going to be right here. It's going to be a jump of 1, 2, 3. Okay, so jump of length 3. So that would be moving to the left, so you'd be dividing again. So it'd be 8,637 times 10 to the power of 3, or not times 10, divided by, because we're moving to the left, going from a smaller unit to a larger unit. So we're dividing by 10 to the power of 3, which is 8,637 divided by 1,000, which is going to be moving the decimal place 3, the decimal place right here is right here now, so moving to 3 places to the left would be 1, 2, 3. So that would equal 8.637 meters. All right, so the next section talks about converting within imperial units. So if you're converting within imperial units, you need to know the chart again, that 1 foot is 12 inches, 1 yard is 3 feet, and 1 mile is 1,760 yards. And if you want, you can multiply the 1,760 by 3 to get it in feet if you like. Okay, so converting 5 yards into inches, if we go straight to the table there, we can just basically say that, well, 1 yard is 3 feet, so 1 yard equals 3 feet, which equals 3 times 12 inches, or 36 inches. Can't spell today. Inches. I'm just going to use abbreviation. So therefore, 5 yards, 5 times 36 is, should be able to do that, 5 times 36 is 180 inches. So there's your answer. 5 yards is 180 inches. And 3.5 miles into feet. Again, we know that 1 mile is equal to 1,760 yards, which is equal to 1,760 times 3 feet, which is 5,280 feet. So therefore, 3.5 miles would be 3.5 times 5,280 feet, which would be 18,480 feet. All right. So using conversion factors is another way. Like you can kind of go back and work from the chart like that, or you can use what we call conversion factors. And conversion factors are basically kind of using kind of ratios of the relationship between the units you want to get to and the units that you have, and putting it in ways so that you can cancel out the units that you have. So therefore, if you're going from feet to yards, you would want to replace the feet here in the first example, 284 feet to yards. You want to replace the feet with yards. So your ratio would have yards in the top and feet in the bottom so that you can cancel out the feet. And when you're looking at the connection from yards to feet, you know that 1 yard is 3 feet. So in front of the yard unit, you would have 1, and in front of the foot unit, you'd have 3. And then when you work out the math, you would be multiplying 284 by 1/3, which would be 284 times 1 divided by 3, and the feet would cancel and you'd be left with yards. So let's try a few of the examples that are compare now using our conversion factors. So the first one we want inches to yards. So if we look back at our relationship there, if we go back to our table, inches to yards, we don't have a connection, a relationship from inches directly to yards. But we do know that 1 foot, 1 foot is 12 inches, and if a yard is 3 feet, then a yard should be 3 times 12 or 36 inches. So you can do that if you want. Use that. Or we can just basically even just write that as a conversion factor even. You can say 90 inches and then convert to feet first and then convert to yards after. So we know 90 inches, we do know that every 12 inches is a foot. So if we convert to feet first, 1 foot is 12 inches, and we put the inches in the bottom so that we can cancel out the inches. And then we know that that would give us a measurement in feet, but then we can convert the feet to yards because we know that we want yard in the top and we want the feet to be in the bottom so that the feet will cancel out, and we know that 1 yard is 3 feet from our table up above. So therefore we would have, now the feet would cancel out, and I'd be left with in the top 90 times 1 yard over 12. Let's move it up a little tiny bit. Over 12 times 3 in the bottom. So that would be 90 over 36 yards, which is equal to 2.5 yards. The next one we want feet to miles, and again in the table up above, we'll just go back again to look at it with you, we got miles related to yards. So what we can do is change the feet to yards and then the yards to miles. So we would have 16,368 feet, and we change the feet to yards first and then the yards to the miles. So we want to get rid of the feet, so the feet would be in the bottom and yards would be in the top, and then we know that 1 yard is 3 feet. And then those feet would cancel and be left with yards. Then we want to convert the yards to miles, and we know that the yards would have to be in the the bottom, because we want to cancel the yards, and the miles would have to be in the top. And then we know that 1 mile is 1,760 yards. So then the yards would cancel, and I would be left with 16,368 times 1 mile in the top over 3 times 1,760 in the bottom, which would equal 3 times 1,760, 5 times, I should know that, 16,368 divided by 5,280, and this would be in miles now. And if I take the 16,368 and divide it by 5,280, I'll get 3.1 miles. And the last one, yards to feet, we do know that there are 3 feet in every yard. So if we use conversion factors, we'd have 2.36 yards. And then we know that we want to get feet, and we want to get rid of the yards, and we do have a connection from feet to yards. We know that every yard is 3 feet. So then these would be multiplied, and I would get, I should be using the dot, I guess, so it doesn't look like a variable. So this would be, the yards would cancel, and I'd be left with 2.36 times 3, which is 7.08 feet. All right, now so we've converted within the metric system, we've converted within the imperial system, so now we're going to convert between the metric and the imperial system. And these two charts here are the tables that you're going to be given on an exam or test situation. So I'm going to work from these charts. There are other ones, other conversion factors that you can use. If you want to memorize more, go right ahead. But these are the ones that are going to be given on your test and that. So I am going to work from these. All right, so in the chart here we have 1 inch is about 2.54 centimeters. And we've got 1 mile is about 1.6 kilometers. And I'm going to actually say 1.61 because I think that's what we give on the test and what we give on the exam, 1.61. And I think that's what they use in the back of the textbook for the answers as well, because if we're not using the same conversion factor that they use in the textbook, your answers in the back are going to be slightly off when you go check them in the back. And we already know this other chart here, 1 foot is 12 inches, 1 yard is 3 feet, and 1 mile is 1,760 yards. So for the first example, we have 2 cars are driven in opposite directions from the Canada-United States border crossing. In 1 hour, James drives 62 miles south, while Janice drives 98 kilometers north. Which vehicle traveled farther from the border and by how much? And the problem with that is right now they're both in different units. One is in imperial measure and another one is in metric measure. So the first thing we should do to answer the question is to convert them both to the same measurement system. So convert both to whatever measurement system. We know that the relationship is 1 mile is 1.61 kilometers, so I'm going to convert both to miles. Convert both to kilometers. So 62 miles. And again, this one's not too hard. You don't really need to use conversion factors for this because every mile is 1.61 kilometers. So 62 miles would be equal to 62 times 1.61 kilometers because every mile is 1.61 kilometers. So 62 times 1.61 would be 99.82 kilometers. So therefore, that was James. James drove 99.82 kilometers and Janice drove 98 kilometers. So James drove further. And he drove 99.82 minus 98, which equals 1.82 kilometers further. Example 7 is just converting from one unit of measure to another. So again, we can use conversion factors here if you want, or you can just use your tables. So it says yards to centimeters. So if we could just go back quickly and look at the table again. Yards to centimeters, we don't have anything that converts, there's nothing in the tables that says yards and what it is in centimeters. We do know that a yard is 3 feet, and we do know that a foot is 12 inches, and then we can convert to centimeters from inches. So what I would do first is I would convert the 26.2 yards to inches and then change over to centimeters. So we've got 26.2 yards. I should just write down here. I don't have a whole lot of room though. 26.2 yards. So we're going to convert it to inches first. And if you remember that 1 yard is 3 feet and 3 feet would be 36 inches, then you can use that conversion factor a little quicker. So you would know that you can go to yards and inches very quickly if you know that 1 yard is 36 inches. Okay, because 1 yard is 3 feet and 3 feet would be 3 times 12 inches. So then the yards would cancel. And you've got 26.2 times 36 inches, which is 943.2 inches. And then 943.2 inches, we know that we have a conversion factor for that. We know that 1 inches would be in the bottom, but we want to keep it in centimeters. So that means that every inch we know is 2.54 centimeters. If we go back and look at our chart up here, every inch is 2.54 centimeters. So that means that the inches then would cancel. and you'd be left with 943.2 times 2.54, which is 2,395.728 centimeters. All right, the next one, we've got kilometers to feet. And if we just go back and look at your chart again, kilometers to feet, there is nothing that in our charts that say kilometers to feet, but we do know the imperial unit measure that we are given is kilometers, and miles have a connection. So what you would do first would be to change it to miles. So change the kilometers to miles first, and then you can work with the chart that converts from kilometers to imperial measures. So first convert to miles. Whoops. So 0.034 kilometers. And we know the connection between kilometers and miles. We've got kilometers here in the bottom because we want kilometers to cancel out. And we know that every mile, is 1.61 kilometers. So then, by doing conversion factors, we know we have to take the 0.034 and divide it by 1.61, which is going to give us 0.0211 miles. And then we've got 0.0211 miles, and now we're going to convert that to feet. So if we go back to our chart again, I don't think the chart has miles to feet, but it does have miles to yards, and we know that every yard is 3 feet. So if you want to kind of skip a step there, you can basically say, well, 1,760 times 3 will give you 1 mile to be 5,280 feet. So if I go back, 1 mile is 5,280 feet. So if I go back now, I can use that conversion factor. Miles go in the bottom, and feet go in the top. And I know that 1 mile is 5,280 feet. And then that would give me the operation, the miles would cancel, and I'd have to multiply. So 5,280 times the 0.0211 would be approximately 111.4 feet. Okay, the next section here is using conversion factors. Again, it's just an example there. So it says, what's the equivalent of 4 feet to centimeters? And again, we know that we don't have in the imperial to metric measure, we know inches corresponds to centimeters, not feet. We don't have one for feet to centimeters. So the best thing to do there first would be to convert it to inches, feet to inches first. So the conversion factor for feet to inches would be 4 feet. That's a mistake there. That shouldn't be equals. That should be times. 4 feet times inches would be in the top and feet would be in the bottom. And every foot is 12 inches. So 4 feet would be 48 inches. And then we would use the conversion factor of inches to centimeters. 48 inches in the bottom, centimeters in the top, so that the inches would cancel. And you know that 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So when you multiply 48 by 2.54, you will get the centimeter conversion. Okay, so we're going to try a few examples here now. So for the first one, we've got 2.5 meters to kilometers. Now, some people know that there are 1,000 meters in every kilometer, but if you don't know that, you'll have to go back to your King Henry declared big dogs can't meow. And you'll be going from base meters to kilometers. So it's 1, 2, 3. So you'd be dividing by 10 to the power of 3, or dividing by 1,000. Which is the same as moving your decimal place 3 places to the left. 1, 2, 3. So this would be 0.0025 kilometers. 8 inches to feet Well, we know that if we're going to use our conversion factors, we know that 8 inches, and if we want to get it in feet and get rid of the inches, we know that 1 foot is 12 inches. So that means we're going to be taking 8 and dividing it by 12 to get the feet, and 8 divided by 12 is 0.667 feet. Or you can say 8/12 if you want of a foot and leave it in, or you can reduce that if you want to. 4 goes into the top twice, 4 goes into 2/3 of a foot if you like. Okay? That or 0.667 feet. 2/3 would actually be more accurate, be more exact, whereas 0.667 would be an estimate. I'm going to change it to 2/3 of a foot. All right, so 7 meters and inches. Now you're converting from a metric system of measurement to the imperial system of measurement. So again, if you look back at our charts, we don't have a direct relationship from meters to inches, but we do have centimeters and inches. So I would convert the meters to centimeters first. So 7 meters would be meters. You want to get centimeters in the top. So, and you know that 1 meter is 100 centimeters. So then you would cancel that, and you know that that would be 700 centimeters. And then you want to convert that to inches. So you want the inches to be in the top and the centimeters to be in the bottom. And you know that 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So you'll be taking, and the centimeter unit will cancel, so you're left with 700 divided by 2.54, which is 275, if you do that on the calculator, 275.6 if you round it off to 1 decimal place. So that would be 275.6 inches. Okay, question 2 is, again, using your conversion factors. So this one here, 42 feet to inches, that's pretty easy. This is just 42 times. Every foot is 12 inches. So 42 times 12. That would be 504 inches. And the next one is 287 miles to yards. So if you look back at your chart, which was on the other page, but there are 1,760 yards in a mile. So if you have 287 miles and you want to change that to yards, you want to get rid of the miles, and you know that 1 mile is 1,760 yards, so that would mean the miles would cancel and you'd be left with 287 times 1,760, which would be 505,120 yards. Okay, the next one is 5,973 inches to yards. So our conversion factor, we don't have inches to yards, but we do have, we can change the inches to feet and then feet to yards. Or if you want to remember that there's 36 inches in a yard, you can certainly use that as well. Right? Because one yard is 3 feet. 3 feet, which is 36 inches. So we can probably just go right to that. 5,973 inches, and we can change the inches to yards. We can relate those because they're in 1 yard, there are 36 inches. So that would mean we would be taking 5,973 divided by 36, inches cancel, and you're left with yards. So that would be 5,973 divided by 36, which is approximately 165.9 if I round it off to 1 decimal place, yards. 6 yards to centimeters, and looking back at the charts, we have yards connected to feet or inches, and then we want to convert. So I would convert the 6 yards to inches first and then to centimeters. And again, even though it's not given in your chart, we just talked about it, that 1 yard is 36 inches, so we're kind of going to skip a step there, and instead of going from yards to feet and feet to inches, we're going to go yards directly to inches. So 6 yards, in terms of yards and inches, we know that 1 yard is 36 inches. That's a helpful one to remember anyway. Okay, so then we know that those yards would cancel, and I would have 6 times 36 inches, but I want to change those inches to centimeters. So I'm going to put the inches down here, and I'm going to put the centimeters up here, and I know that 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So now I'm going to have in the top, I'm going to have 6 times 36 times 2.54. Inches are going to cancel, and I'm left with centimeters. So I've got 6 times 36 times 2.54. And that's 548.64 centimeters. The next example, 2 kilometers to miles. Well, we know that we have a conversion factor for kilometers and miles, and we know that if we put the kilometers in the bottom, they'll cancel miles in the top, and we know that 1 mile is 1.61 kilometers from our chart. So that means we've got 2 divided by 1.61, and the kilometers are going to cancel, and I'm left with miles. So that would be 2 divided by 1.61 is 1.24 miles. 54 centimeters to feet. So again, we don't have centimeters to feet, we have centimeters to inches, so you might want to change the centimeters to inches first. So that would be centimeters down here, inches up here, and we know that 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. And the centimeters would cancel, and then I want to change the inches to feet, and I know that inches would have to go in the bottom, feet would have to go in the top, and 1 foot is the same as 12 inches, so then that would be 54 times 1 times 1 all over 2.54 times 12. Inches would cancel and be left with feet. So that would be 54 divided by the product of 2.54 times 12. So 54 divided by bracket, 2.54 times 12, close my bracket. The calculator gives me 1.77 and feet. All right, the next question says a carpenter would like to place trim around a rectangular window measuring 41 inches by 27 inches. If the trim costs $1.92 a foot, what's the approximate cost of the trim before taxes? So we would have to work out the measurements and then convert them to feet so we can get the cost. So let's first calculate how much trim we would need. If it's a rectangular window measuring 41 inches by 27 inches, whoops, that would mean the trim around it, we need 2 times 41 plus 2 times 27, because there are 2 lengths and 2 widths, basically the perimeter. So that's going to be 82 plus 54, which is going to be 136 inches is how much material or trim that we need. So now we would want to change that inches to feet. And we know that in terms of our conversion factors, inches should be in the bottom and feet should be in the top if we want to end up with feet. And we know that 1 foot is the same as 12 inches. So then we cancel out our inches, and we know that that's going to be 136 divided by 12, which is 11.33 feet. So therefore the cost, and again, you're probably not going to be able to buy 11.33 feet. You're probably going to have to, and it says there, sure, assume the trim is not sold in partial foot lengths. So if you need 11.3 feet, that means you're going to need to buy 12 feet, because they're not sold in partial lengths. So the cost is going to be equal to 12 feet times $1.92 a foot, which is going to be 12 times $1.92, which is going to be $23.04 plus your taxes. All right, next example. Road sign says to turn left in 1,000 feet. How far is this distance approximately in kilometers? So 1,000 feet. We have a connection in our chart from imperial to metric of 1 mile relates to kilometers, but we don't have feet. So I would change the feet to miles first. So I would know that in 1 foot, we can convert it to yards. We know that. Foot and a yard. 1 yard is the same as 3 feet. So we could take that 1,000 and divide it by 3. Or just keep going actually with the conversion chart, because I want to convert, that's going to cancel out the feet, and I want yards to miles. So my yards would be down here and my miles would be up here. And I know that every mile is 1,760 yards. And then the yards would cancel. So if I use those conversion factors, I've got 1,000 would be in the top, 1,000 times 1 mile. And in the bottom, I would have 3 times 1,760, which is, oh sure, I should know that, 5,280. So that would give you 1,000 divided by 5,280 is 0.1894, if I round it up to 4 decimal place, miles. And then if I want to convert that to kilometers, I know that. The miles would have to be in the bottom, kilometers would have to be in the top, and 1 mile is 1.61 kilometers. So that would give me 0.1894 times 1.61, which would be approximately 0.3049, or approximately, if I just round it off to 2 decimal places, 0.30 kilometers. All right, the next example asks you to calculate the perimeter. So you've got a little bit of work to do there, because it's not a nice perfect rectangle. There's a little piece out of the left-hand side there. So we would have to look at the outside. The straight edges are fine, but you have to do a little bit of work here with this semicircle, and we'll assume that this is a semicircle, because I don't think we can do it otherwise. So if this semicircle here, if you want to figure out this little diameter of the semicircle, I'm just going to use that red there. If you want to figure out the diameter of the semicircle, all you would need to do is the outside is a rectangle, so if the right hand side is 18, then the left hand side is 2 times, there's 2 pieces of 7 with length 7.5, so you have 18 minus 15 would equal 3. So the diameter, that little piece that's left, has to be measuring 3, so that the whole side, 7.5 plus 7.5 plus that piece, adds up to 18. So that would mean the diameter of the semicircle is 3, so therefore the radius of the semicircle is 1.5 meters, half of that, right? So we would have the perimeter then of that little semicircle piece, because that, we got to kind of figure out this little piece right here. So that there would be, perimeter, if you remember, of a circle is 2 pi r. So circumference equals 2 pi r, which in this case would be 2 pi times 1.5. But we want half the circumference, so we want to divide that by 2. So it's just going to be pi r really. Okay, so that would equal 1.5 times pi, which is about 4.719 2 if you use 3 decimal places. So then if I go back to the full figure now, we've got, so the total perimeter would be the 4.712, plus you got the two 7.5s, plus you'd have two 21s, and you'd have that 18. So if you add all that up, you've got 4.712 plus 15 plus 42 plus 18. So if you add all that up, 4.712 plus 15 plus 42 plus 18, you get 79.712 around there. And this is all approximate because I rounded that off over there. And that would be still in centimeters. So now they want you to change it to inches. So then you would have to use conversion factors. So 79.712 centimeters. And then you want to change the centimeters. So put centimeters in the bottom, to inches. So 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters, which would equal 79.712 divided by 2.54, which is 31.38 inches. Okay. And which distance is the longest? So for that, it would be convert them all to the same units. Same units. So we'd have, we've got inches, yards, kilometers, and centimeters. So let's change them all to inches. We'll just change them to inches. Okay, so this one's already in inches. So this one here, 100 yards. If we change it to inches, I'm going to use inches. I'll just write that there. So 100 yards would be, if I use conversion factors, that would be yards in the bottom, inches up here, and I know that 1 yard is 3 feet, which is 36 inches. And then that would be 100 times 36 is 3,600 inches. And then the next one is 0.1 kilometers, which if I want to change that to inches, I know from my charts that I've been given that 1 kilometer, and I can relate that to imperial measure using miles. So 1 kilometer would equal, or times, sorry. If I want to change that from kilometers to miles, that would be 1 mile is 1.61 kilometers. So that would be 0.1. Oh no, I still want to change that to inches, don't I? So then if I go, kilometers are going to cancel. So then for miles, I can change that to yards. And we know that I want to change that to yards. The miles would be in the bottom. I know that 1 mile is 1,760 yards. And then I want to change the yards to inches. So put the yard in the bottom and the inches in the top, and I know that 1 yard is 36 inches. So if I work all that out, I'm going to get, actually I'm just going to put it over here. So I'm going to have 0.1, that's right, 0.1 times 1,760 times 36 is in the top, 6,336, over 1.61. And that would be in inches, because those yards would cancel. So this would be 6,336 divided by 1.61, which is 3,935.4 inches. And the next one, so that's, we've got the yards done, we've got the kilometers done, and now we've got to do the centimeters. So 8,910 centimeters, if I change those to inches, we know that centimeters would have to cancel, inches would be in the top, and 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So then that would be 8,910 divided by 2.54, which is 3507.87 inches. So it says which distance below is the longest. If we look at all those values, it appears that the 0.1 kilometers is, no, yes, 0.1 kilometers, because we've got 3,710 inches, 3,600 inches, 3,935.4, and 3,507.87. So it is the 0.1 kilometers, which is the largest. So that's it for that section, and there's some questions on page 22 of your text that you can practice these topics.